I still remember the exact moment my life changed forever. It wasn't when I woke up in the hospital bed, with a fresh surgical scar across my abdomen. It wasn't even when the doctors told me the transplant was successful. No, it was 3 hours after surgery, when I reached for my phone with trembling hands and saw the message that would shatter everything I thought I knew about love, loyalty, and the man I was about to marry. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me start from the beginning. My name is Sarah, and 6 months ago, I was the happiest woman alive. I had just gotten engaged to Marcus, the man I'd been dating for 3 years. He was everything I'd ever wanted, charming, successful, attentive, and deeply devoted to his family. Especially his mother, Patricia. At first, I found his dedication to her endearing. He called her every day, visited her twice a week, and always made sure she was taken care of. As someone who'd lost my own mother to cancer when I was 19, I admired that kind of devotion. Patricia seemed to like me well enough, though she maintained a certain distance. She was polite, always smiling, but I could never quite tell if she genuinely accepted me or was just tolerating me for Marcus's sake. Still, I tried. I brought her flowers, remembered her birthday, asked about her book club. I wanted her approval more than I'd like to admit. Then came the diagnosis that changed everything. It was a Tuesday evening in March when Marcus called me, his voice breaking. "Sarah, it's Mom. She's in kidney failure. They are putting her on dialysis, but she needs a transplant. Without it." He couldn't finish the sentence, and I could hear him crying on the other end of the line. My heart broke for him, for her, for their whole family. Oh my God, Marcus. I'm so sorry. What can I do? How can I help? Over the next few weeks, I watched the man I loved crumble under the weight of his mother's illness. Patricia grew weaker, the dialysis taking its toll on her body. Marcus's brother, James, was tested as a potential donor, but wasn't a match. His sister, Rachel, had a bleeding disorder that made her ineligible. Marcus himself had different blood type. They'd been on the donor list for months, but time was running out. One night, as Marcus sat at my kitchen table with his head in his hands, I had an idea. What if I got tested? He looked up at me with red-rimmed eyes. What? What if I'm a match? I could donate. I'm healthy, I'm young, Sarah, no. I couldn't ask you to do that. It's too much. The surgery, the recovery, the risks, you're not asking. I'm offering. I took his hands in mine. Marcus, I love you. And I care about your mother. If I can help, I want to try. The gratitude in his eyes made me feel like a hero. Like I was doing something truly meaningful. The testing process took 2 weeks. Blood work, tissue typing, cross-matching, psychological evaluation, meetings with the transplant team. I learned more about kidneys than I ever thought I would. And then, on a rainy Friday afternoon, I got the call. I was a match. Not just compatible, I was an excellent match. When I told Marcus, he actually fell to his knees. He wrapped his arms around my waist and sobbed into my stomach, thanking me over and over again. Patricia cried when she heard the news. For the first time since I'd known her, she hugged me tightly and called me her angel. Even James and Rachel seemed to warm up to me in a way they never had before. The surgery was scheduled for May 15th, just 6 weeks before our wedding. My father thought I was crazy. Sarah, you barely know this woman. What if things don't work out with Marcus? You'll have given away a piece of yourself for nothing. But I believed in us. I believed in our future together, in the family we would build. This would bind us together in a way that went beyond marriage vows. I would literally be a part of his family. The night before the surgery, Marcus took me to our favorite restaurant. He held my hand across the table and looked at me with such intensity that I felt my breath catch. Sarah, I need you to know something. What you're doing tomorrow, it's the most selfless, beautiful thing anyone has ever done for my family. For me. I promise you, I will spend the rest of my life making sure you never regret this. You're going to be my wife, the mother of my children, my partner in everything. After tomorrow, you'll have saved my mother's life. I'll never forget that. Never. I went into surgery the next morning feeling like I was floating. Even the fear of the operation couldn't dampen the sense of purpose I felt. I was saving a life. I was proving my love. I was securing my place in this family forever. The last thing I remember before the anesthesia took hold was the nurse squeezing my hand and telling me I was incredibly brave. When I woke up, the pain was immediate and overwhelming. My abdomen felt like it had been torn apart. Through the haze of post-operative medications, I could hear the nurses telling me everything went perfectly. Patricia's body had accepted the kidney. She was already showing signs of improvement. I'd done it. Marcus came in shortly after, still in his surgical waiting clothes. He kissed my forehead, told me I was amazing, and said his mother was doing wonderfully. He stayed for about 20 minutes, until a nurse told him he needed to let me rest, and that he should check on Patricia too. I'll be back soon, baby. I love you so much. Thank you. Thank you for giving me back my mother. After he left, I drifted in and out of sleep. The pain medication made everything feel dreamlike, distant. At some point, a nurse brought me my phone, which had been in Marcus's care during the surgery. Your fiancé left this for you, she said with a smile. I thanked her and set it on the bedside table, too exhausted to look at it. But an hour later, when the latest dose of medication started wearing off and the pain intensified, I reached for it as a distraction. Maybe I could text my dad, let him know I was okay. That's when I saw it. The phone had been left open to Marcus's messages. Not intentionally, I'm sure, he'd probably been texting someone and just set it down without locking it. But there it was, a conversation with a contact saved as Lex with a heart emoji. The preview of the last message made my blood run cold. I know, baby, just a few more weeks, and we won't have to hide anymore. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped the phone. This had to be a mistake. A friend, maybe? Someone he was helping with a surprise. But even as my mind raced through innocent explanations, my gut knew. I knew. I opened the conversation. What I found made me wish I was still unconscious from surgery. The messages went back months. Months? There were good morning texts, sexy photos I couldn't bring myself to look at closely, inside jokes, pet names. Lex was Alexandra, a woman Marcus worked with. And from the messages, they'd been together for at least 8 months. But it got worse. So much worse. I scrolled with trembling fingers, tears streaming down my face, my surgical pain completely forgotten in the face of this new agony. There was a message from 3 weeks ago. I can't wait until this donation thing is over. Once Sarah gives Mom the kidney, I'll have done my duty as the good son. Then I can finally end things with her and we can go public. Another from 2 weeks ago. Sarah keeps talking about the wedding and I just nod along. Don't worry, it's not happening. I just need to make sure Mom gets the kidney first. Sarah's so eager to please, she'd probably back out if she knew the truth. And the most recent message, from just this morning, sent while I was being prepped for surgery, she's going into the OR now. Mom's surgery is in an hour. By tonight, Mom will have her kidney, and I'll be one step closer to being free. I love you, Lex. This will all be over soon. Alexandra's response, I love you too. Your mom is lucky to have such a devoted son. And I'm lucky to have you. We'll tell Sarah together after she's recovered. It's the right thing to do. Marcus's reply, yeah. I owe her that much, I guess. She did just give up a kidney for my family. I must have made some kind of sound, a wail, a gasp, something, because suddenly a nurse was rushing in, asking if I was in pain, if I needed more medication. But how do you medicate heartbreak? How do you anesthetize betrayal? I couldn't get the words out. I need to see Marcus. Now? Honey, you need to rest. You just came out of major surgery, now. Please. I need to see him now. The nurse must have seen something in my face, because she nodded and left. I don't know what she told him or how she found him, but 10 minutes later, Marcus walked into my recovery room with a smile on his face. Hey, the nurse said you were asking for me. How are you feeling? Do you need anything? I held up his phone. You left this. The smile froze on his face. I watched the color drain from his cheeks as he realized what must have happened. Sarah. I can explain. Explain what, Marcus? Explain how you've been cheating on me for 8 months. Explain how you used me to get a kidney for your mother. Explain how you're planning to dump me as soon as I'm recovered from the surgery I went through for your family. He stepped toward me, hands raised like he was approaching a wild animal. It's not like that. Yes, I've been seeing Alexandra, but what we have, what you and I have, it's complicated. I do care about you, you used me. My shout brought the nurse back in, but I didn't care. I gave you my kidney. I gave your mother my organ because I loved you, because I thought we were building a life together. And the whole time, you were planning to leave me. Sarah, please, just calm down. Your blood pressure, don't you dare tell me to calm down. Don't you dare. I was sobbing now, my whole body shaking. The pain in my abdomen was excruciating, but it was nothing compared to the pain in my chest. Get out. Get out of my room. Get away from me. Sarah, we need to talk about this, there's nothing to talk about. We're done. The engagement is off. I never want to see you again. Get out. A security guard appeared in the doorway. The nurse must have called. Sir, I think you need to leave. Marcus looked at me one more time. I saw guilt there, yes, but also something else. Relief. Like he was glad he didn't have to keep up the pretense anymore. I'm sorry, Sarah. I really am. But thank you. For my mom. Whatever happens between us, you saved her life. That was somehow worse than everything else. The audacity to thank me, as if this was some transaction we'd both agreed to. After he left, I completely fell apart. The nurses were amazing, they held me while I sobbed, brought me tissues, called my father. My doctor came in and was so concerned about my physical state that she wanted to sedate me, but I refused. I needed to feel this. I needed to process it. My father arrived 3 hours later, having driven 90 miles at what must have been record speed. When he saw me, his face crumpled. Oh, sweetheart. Oh, Sarah. He held me as carefully as he could, mindful of my incision, and let me cry into his shoulder the way I used to when I was little. Dad, what have I done? I gave him my kidney. I can't take it back. She has my kidney now, and he was just using me the whole time. I know, baby. I know. The next few days were a blow of pain, both physical and emotional. My recovery was complicated by the stress and crying. My blood pressure kept spiking. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep without having nightmares about the betrayal. Meanwhile, Patricia was recovering beautifully in another wing of the hospital. My kidney, my kidney, was working perfectly in her body. The transplant team called it a textbook success. On day 3, Patricia tried to visit me. A nurse came in first to ask if I was willing to see her. I said no. An hour later, she tried again. Again, I refused. On her third attempt, she came anyway, walking slowly into my room with James supporting her. "Sarah, please. I need to talk to you." I turned my face away. "I have nothing to say to you." "I didn't know," she said, and her voice was shaking. "I swear to you, I didn't know what Marcus was doing. I didn't know about Alexandra. When James told me what happened, I couldn't believe it. My son did this. My son used you like this." "It doesn't matter," I said flatly. "What's done is done. You have my kidney. I hope you enjoy it. Sarah, please don't be like this. I'm horrified by what Marcus did. He's my son and I love him, but what he did to you is unforgivable. If I could give you back the kidney, I would." That made me laugh, a bitter, broken sound. "But you can't, can you? Nobody can undo this." I gave away a piece of myself for a lie. She was crying now, too. "I know I can't fix this. But please know, I am so sorry. You didn't deserve this. You're a good person who did an incredibly selfless thing, and my son, he's not the man I raised him to be." After she left, I felt somehow even worse. Because her guilt was real. Her gratitude was real. But it didn't change anything. I was still here, one kidney short, with a broken engagement and a shattered heart. The hospital discharged me after 5 days. My father took me to his house, since I obviously couldn't go back to the apartment I'd shared with Marcus. For weeks, I could barely function. The physical recovery was hard enough, the pain, the fatigue, the restrictions on what I could do. But the emotional recovery seemed impossible. I had to cancel the wedding, which meant notifying the venue, the caterer, the florist, the photographer. Every cancellation email felt like ripping the wound open again. I had to tell my friends and extended family what happened. Their shock and outrage on my behalf should have felt validating, but it just made me feel pathetic. How had I not seen this coming? How had I been so blind? Marcus tried to contact me multiple times. Texts, calls, emails. I blocked him everywhere. He even showed up at my father's house once. My dad answered the door and told him that if he ever came back, he'd call the police. Alexandra tried to reach out too, with a long message about how she'd never meant to hurt anyone and how the heart wants what it wants. I deleted it without reading past the first paragraph. But the worst part, the part that haunted me at 3 in the morning when I couldn't sleep, was the knowledge that my kidney was still out there. Still functioning. Still keeping Patricia alive. I would see posts from James and Rachel on social media about how grateful they were, how well their mother was doing, how she was getting stronger every day. And she was alive because of me. Because of my sacrifice. My pain. My humiliation. I couldn't decide what I wanted. Did I want the kidney to fail out of spite? No, of course not. I wasn't a monster. Patricia hadn't asked Marcus to do what he did. But I also couldn't feel good about what I'd done. The whole thing was poisoned now. 2 months after the surgery, I finally agreed to meet with a therapist. Her name was Dr. Chen, and she specialized in trauma and complicated grief. "What you're experiencing," she told me in our first session, "is a profound loss. You lost your relationship, yes, but you also lost your sense of trust, your vision of the future, and in a very literal way, you lost a part of your physical self. All of these losses are compounded by the fact that the organ you donated can't be returned. There's a permanence to this betrayal that makes it especially difficult to process." Over the following months, Dr. Chen helped me work through the anger, the grief, the shame, and the regret. She helped me understand that what I had done, the donation itself, wasn't stupid or wrong. It was compassionate and brave. The problem was never my choice to help. The problem was Marcus's choice to deceive. You acted out of love, she said. He acted out of selfishness. Those are not morally equivalent, Sarah. What he did to you doesn't diminish the goodness of what you did. Slowly, very slowly, I started to rebuild my life. I moved into my own apartment. I went back to work at the non-profit where I'd taken a leave of absence. I started reconnecting with friends I'd neglected during my relationship with Marcus. And then, 6 months after the surgery, something unexpected happened. I was at a coffee shop near my new apartment when I ran into Rachel, Marcus's sister. She saw me and froze, her coffee cup halfway to her lips. For a moment, I thought she might just walk away. Instead, she approached my table. Sarah. Hi. Can I sit? Just for a minute. I considered saying no. But curiosity won out. Okay. She sat down, looking uncomfortable. I know you probably don't want to hear from any of us. And I completely understand. But I wanted you to know. Marcus and Alexandra broke up. I felt nothing. No satisfaction, no vindication. Just emptiness. Okay. She cheated on him. With someone from her gym. He was devastated, apparently. Called me crying about how he didn't understand how someone could betray him like that. Now I felt something. A dark, bitter amusement. You're kidding. I wish I was. I told him he got exactly what he deserved. We had a huge fight about it. I've barely spoken to him since. She paused, stirring her coffee. I also wanted to tell you, what you did for Mom, even though everything with Marcus turned out so horribly, it still matters. She's alive because of you. She's going to meet her grandchildren someday because of you. I know that doesn't fix anything, and I know you don't owe us anything, but thank you. I will never forget what you did. After she left, I sat there for a long time, letting her words sink in, and for the first time since the surgery, I felt something shift inside me. It wasn't forgiveness exactly. It wasn't closure. But it was the beginning of something like acceptance. What I'd done had value, regardless of Marcus's betrayal. Somewhere out there, Patricia was living a life she wouldn't have had without me. And while I couldn't separate that good from the pain it had caused me, maybe I didn't have to. Maybe both things could be true at once. It's been a year now since the donation. I'm doing better. I've even been on a few dates, though I'm taking things very, very slowly. Trust doesn't come easily anymore, and I'm learning to be okay with that. I still have moments when I touch the scar on my abdomen and feel the loss all over again. Not just the loss of the kidney, but the loss of the person I was before all of this happened. The person who believed that love and sacrifice were always rewarded. That good intentions were armor against heartbreak. But I'm also learning that maybe that person needed to be lost. Maybe I needed to learn that I can survive betrayal. That I can give everything and have it thrown back in my face, and still get up the next morning. That I'm stronger than I ever knew. Do I regret the donation? I've asked myself that question 1,000 times. And the honest answer is, I don't know. Some days, yes. Absolutely. I wish I'd never met Marcus, never fallen in love, never offered to be tested. I wish I still had both my kidneys, and none of these scars. But other days, I think about Patricia being alive. I think about the fact that, despite everything, I proved to myself that I'm capable of extraordinary generosity. I'm capable of making a choice based on love rather than fear. And maybe that's worth something, even if it came at a terrible price. What I do know is this. I will never again sacrifice myself for someone who hasn't proven they are worthy of that sacrifice. I will never again confuse love with self-abandonment. And I will never, ever ignore that voice inside me that whispers warnings, even when I desperately want to. My name is Sarah, and I donated my kidney to save my fiancé's mother. Hours later, I discovered he'd been using me all along. But I'm still here. I'm still standing. And despite everything, I'm going to be okay. It's been a year now since the donation. I'm doing better, though better is a complicated word. I've started dating again. There's a man named David who teaches high school English. We've been on 5 dates so far, and he's patient with me. He doesn't push when I need space. He doesn't ask why I sometimes touch my abdomen absent-mindedly, lost in thought. He just waits, and that kindness means more than he knows. Trust doesn't come easily anymore. I find myself analyzing every word, looking for hidden meanings, searching for signs of deception. Dr. Chen says this is normal, that my brain is trying to protect me from being hurt again. She says it will get easier with time, and I'm choosing to believe her. I still have moments when I touch the scar on my abdomen and feel the loss all over again. Not just the loss of the kidney, but the loss of the person I was before all of this happened. The person who believed that love and sacrifice were always rewarded. That good intentions were armor against heartbreak. That if you loved someone enough, gave them enough, they would love you back the same way. But I'm also learning that maybe that person needed to be lost. Maybe I needed to learn that I can survive betrayal. That I can give everything and have it thrown back in my face, and still get up the next morning. That I'm stronger than I ever knew. That my worth isn't determined by how much I sacrifice for others, but by how much I value myself. Do I regret the donation? I've asked myself that question 1,000 times, and the honest answer is still complicated. Some days, yes. Absolutely. I wish I'd never met Marcus, never fallen in love, never offered to be tested. I wish I still had both my kidneys and none of these scars, the ones you can see and the ones you can't. But other days, I think about Patricia being alive. I think about the fact that, despite everything, I proved to myself that I'm capable of extraordinary generosity. I'm capable of making a choice based on love rather than fear. And maybe that's worth something, even if it came at a terrible price. 3 months ago, something happened that changed my perspective even more. I was at the grocery store when I saw Patricia again. She was with a young woman I didn't recognize, tall, with dark curly hair and Patricia's same smile. They were laughing together, picking out ingredients for what sounded like a family dinner. I almost left. Almost turned my cart around and went to a different aisle. But then Patricia saw me. "Sarah," she said softly, and the laughter died on her lips. The young woman looked between us, confused. "Mom, who's?" "This is Sarah," Patricia said, and her voice cracked. "Sarah, this is my daughter Emma. She lives in Seattle. She just told me I'm going to be a grandmother." Emma's hand went to her barely visible baby bump, and suddenly I understood. This was why Patricia had needed to live. This moment right here. This grandchild she was going to meet. "Congratulations," I managed to say. Patricia's eyes filled with tears. "Because of you," she whispered. "Because of you, I get to meet my grandchild. Because of you, Emma still has her mother." Emma looked at me with dawning understanding. You're the one who donated." I nodded, unable to speak. Emma stepped forward and hugged me. Just like that. A stranger hugging me in the middle of the grocery store. "Thank you," she said into my shoulder. "Thank you for giving me more time with my mom. Thank you for this gift." I cried in that grocery store. Not tears of sadness this time, but something else. Something like peace. Because in that moment, I realized that what I did mattered. Not because of Marcus. Not because of the family I thought I was joining. But because a woman gets to meet her grandchild. Because a daughter gets more time with her mother. Because somewhere in the world, there's a baby who will grow up knowing their grandmother, and that's because of me. Marcus doesn't get to take that away from me. His betrayal doesn't erase the good that came from my choice. Last week, I started volunteering at a support group for living organ donors. Not just the ones with happy endings, but the ones like me, the ones with complicated stories, with regrets mixed in with the gratitude. I share my story, not to discourage people from donating, but to remind them to protect themselves. To make sure their generosity isn't being exploited. To trust their instincts. To donate for the right reasons, because saving a life matters to them, not because they are trying to earn love or approval. One woman in the group, Maria, donated a kidney to her best friend's husband. 6 months later, her best friend accused her of having an affair with him and cut her off completely. The accusation was baseless, cruel, born out of the friend's own insecurity. But Maria was left with the same feeling I had, that she'd given away a piece of herself and received only pain in return. We talk about these things. We support each other. We remind each other that we are not stupid or naive. We were brave. We were generous. And what others did with our gifts doesn't diminish the beauty of the giving. What I do know now, with absolute certainty, is this: I will never again sacrifice myself for someone who hasn't proven they are worthy of that sacrifice. I will never again confuse love with self-abandonment. I will never again ignore that voice inside me that whispers warnings, even when I desperately want to. And I will never again base my worth on how much I can give to others. My father told me something last month that's been staying with me. We were having dinner at his house, and I was telling him about David, about how scared I was to trust again. He put down his fork and looked at me with those kind eyes that remind me so much of my mother. "Sarah," he said, "you gave away a kidney, but you got yourself back. And you're worth more than any organ. You're worth more than Marcus ever deserved. Don't let what he did make you smaller. Let it make you wiser." He's right. I am worth more. I deserve more. And I will never settle for less again. Last night, I stood in front of my bathroom mirror and really looked at my scars for the first time in months. 4 small marks on my abdomen, faded now but still visible. For so long, I saw them as marks of shame. Evidence of my foolishness. A permanent reminder of the worst mistake of my life. But last night, I saw them differently. They are proof that I survived. Proof that I was brave enough to try to save someone's life. Proof that I can endure unimaginable pain, both physical and emotional, and still be standing a year later. They are not marks of shame. They are marks of strength. My name is Sarah, and I donated my kidney to save my fiancé's mother. Hours later, I discovered he'd been using me all along. But I'm still here. I'm still standing. I'm still healing. And despite everything, despite the betrayal, despite the pain, despite the scar I'll carry forever, I'm going to be more than okay. I'm going to be free. I'm going to be whole again. Maybe not in the same way I was before, but in a stronger way. A wiser way. A way that honors both what I gave and what I survived. And that, I'm learning, is more than enough. If my story resonated with you, or if you've experienced betrayal and needed to hear that you're not alone, please consider subscribing to this channel. Your support helps me share these stories and create a community where we can heal together. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a story. And please, let me know in the comments, have you ever been betrayed by someone you trusted completely? Have you ever given someone everything only to have them throw it back in your face? Share your story. Let's support each other. You are not alone, and your pain matters. Thank you for listening to my story, and remember, you are stronger than you know.